Well, in a way, China is relatively better than just about any country in Asia Pacific on multiple levels. I mean, first, China began its energy transition on electric vehicles in a much more significant and earlier way than most. So the rise in gas prices that you see here in Australia, certainly that you see in the United States, they don't hit China as hard. Second, China has alternative fuels. They don't want to have to use as much coal as they're going to have to use, but they can turn to coal if they need to replace, oil and gas. And so they have that alternative. You see Japan even now announcing that they're going to start bringing coal back. Well, China has that in much more abundance and in a much faster and easier way than other countries. And third, China can negotiate with Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is not closed absolutely right now. It's closed to whom the Iranians say it's closed. And if the Iranians and the Chinese can come to an agreement, then the Chinese are going to get some of that oil and gas coming through the strait. So on a relative basis, China is doing better than basically anyone else in the region.
What about when it comes to trade with the US? What do we know about the new date that's been set for the China-US meeting? Do you think it provides any clues as to when the war in the Middle East might end?
And I really don't think we can put any credence into this date as saying that's when the war is going to end, or even that this meeting is going to take place. And first, when we talk about this more in depth, but the war will come to an end when both the United States and Israel and Iran says the war comes to an end. Is James Mattis, who served as Secretary of Defense in Donald Trump's first term, said the enemy gets a vote when the war comes to an end. And right now, the Iranians don't seem to have any inclination to end this. So Donald Trump can say whatever he wants. He can pick whatever date he wants. That doesn't mean the war is coming to an end. And if the war is still going on, and certainly if American troops are at risk or dying, depending on what happens in the next few weeks in Iran and on Karg Island, wherever that may be, there's no chance the President of the United States is going to leave Washington, leave the United States to go to China for a ceremonial visit when those troops are at risk. So I don't put any credence into this specific date.
Well, when the war does end, the energy crisis gripping the world won't be over for a while yet. We'll feel the effects for a long time after.
We will, and we'll feel the effects for a couple of different reasons. First, it depends. One question is, what does the end of the war mean? I mean, I would have as a definition, others have as a definition, the end of the war is when unescorted vessels can go through the strait. Now, when will that happen? That could be long after the fighting stops if the Iranians keep that strait closed. So that means the end of fighting doesn't mean it's the end of an energy crisis. Second, the Iranians are going to need to rebuild their country after what has happened. And look, the United States and Israel are not going to be paying reparations to Iran. Of course, that's not going to happen. So Iran's going to need to get that money itself. How is it going to do it? It's probably going to do it by putting some toll on, or some tax on the vessels that go through the strait. That's going to elevate energy prices from where they were before. And lastly, countries have to realize that you need to have energy security. Energy security means self-resilience when it comes to energy. Well, that is expensive. Are they going to build more reserves? Are they going to move to different forms of energy that are more expensive than oil and gas, if oil and gas is even available as it was before? So we are going to see energy prices much higher than we saw before the war started for really the foreseeable future.
Stephen Okun, really good to get your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.